This program is made possible in part by the Moving Image Trust Fund.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are in the Ron Robinson Theater of the Central Arkansas Library System in Little Rock with what we think is an absolutely sparkling program. Representative John Lewis, Democrat of Georgia. Thank you very much for being our guest and for being the author of March, Volume 1 anyway, a documentary, a graphic history anyway, of the Civil Rights Movement. And with you is Andrew Iden of your congressional staff who helped with the narrative. And the home state advantage may, with all due respect, Congressman, go to Nate Powell, who is a North Little Rock native who did the graphics work for the book. Quite an accomplishment, gentlemen, all three of you. Quite a piece of work. Congressman, how did this come about? What was the launching pad for the book? What was the seed?
Well, Andrew Iden, the co-author, co-writer who's on my staff, came to me one day after serving as the communication person in my 2008 campaign, and said, Congressman, you should write a comic book. And I said, oh, no. And he didn't give up. He didn't give in. He was not that persistent, but he came back and said, you really should do it. And I finally said, oh, if you do it with me. And he said yes. And that was more than 5 years ago. And with the work of Andrew and Nate, the book has been very, very successful. And I recall another comic book called Martin Luther King Jr. and the Montgomery Story. Sold for 10 cents, 14 pages that I read back in 1957, 58. And that book had a tremendous influence on me. And to be part of this effort with these two young men, you know that the three of us come from the South. Nate from Arkansas, Andrew from Georgia, I'm from Alabama. And for three Southerners to come together and write about the Civil Rights Movement and tell the story of my involvement, it's been an amazing journey. I've loved every bit, every moment of it.
Mr. Iden, this had to, as the Congressman noted, it had perhaps its inspiration in the book, still in print, I believe, about Dr. King's days.
We brought it back into print. The interest from March got to the point where people wanted to see it again. But, you know, that comic book was so influential in its own time. It helped inspire some of the earliest sit-ins. It helped inspire actions in the late 60s in the South, but also in South Africa. It was used to fight apartheid. It was used in Latin America. It was used in Vietnam. And most recently it was used in Egypt in the days and weeks leading up to the revolution in Tahrir Square. So it had a pedigree that also involved Dr. King helping to edit the early draft of the script, which to me just seemed so remarkable, this forgotten piece of history, that I ended up writing my graduate thesis on its history. Because it was, to us, something that had worked before. And as we look at society today, with young people needing to speak up and to speak out, with so many things that we seem to be moving backwards with, there needed to be that call to action again. And that's what we were trying to do.
Well, how did you and Mr. Powell link up now? At what point did, Andrew, Nate, I'm sorry, what point did you get involved in this?
Well, our publisher, Top Shelf, who's based out of the Atlanta area, I've been working together with Top Shelf for about a decade, and I've published a number of books with them. So we've had a wonderful personal relationship and a lot of trust. And I was wrapping up work on a couple of graphic novels about 3 years ago, and I saw the press release that Congressman Lewis and Andrew had signed a publishing deal for March without an artist, but with my publisher, Top Shelf. And I was already very busy with my own work, but I took note, and a couple of weeks later, our publisher gave me a call and strongly suggested that I personally try out for the role of artist. it was really up to the co-writers to determine that. So we started communicating, and I did some sample pages from their script and redrew it. And once I jumped on board, almost immediately we realized this was the correct team to have for the job.
You'd think it would take, in a work of this sort, it would take a special or a certain special synergy has to exist between the narrative writer, the inspiration, and the graphic artist. Although the book runs to what, maybe about 175 pages, 200 something, and that it's packed with fact, and the pictures tell so much. The artwork says so much.
Well, originally, the idea was to release March as a single volume graphic novel. And I've been writing and drawing my own graphic novels for a while, and I have my own distinct storytelling style that I sort of stick by. So once I started breaking down their script into a storytelling format that would work with my particular skill set and strengths, I realized that we weren't dealing with a single 200-page book. We were dealing with about 500 or 600 pages of story. So we all sort of huddled again and realized we should take our time, divide it up into a trilogy, not try to oversaturate things, and really let the story tell itself.
Yeah, Congressman, I have to admit, now your previous autobiography ran to about 400 pages, maybe a bit more, I'm trying to recall. Was there the temptation on your part to second guess your two young associates here, say, wait a minute, no, this has to go in. You're cutting too much. This ought to be in.
Never I had that thought or idea. Nate is so gifted in the illustration of the words, of the text, and Andrew is a gifted writer and was able to make things real with probably fewer words. And I love the book, and I know I'm going to love book 2 and 3, and I love getting out, talking about it. But I see these little children standing in line, reading it. And I went to a little school in Atlanta a few days ago, and the little boys were saying to me, Congressman, I finished reading book 1, when is book 2 coming out? They're ready for, these kids are 7, 8, and 9, and 10 years old. And I just returned from a trip to Ireland, and the people there are reading the book, not just children, but adults, elected officials, people in government at all levels. Because we get to Bloody Sunday, we talk about Selma, they had their own Bloody Sunday. And people all around the world can identify with this book. Andrew and Nate would tell you that it's already been translated in French. Yes, sir. Right.
Andrew, you had at your disposal not only the congressman's autobiography, but libraries full of research data. Mr. Lewis has been in Congress for more than 2 decades now, so you could access, I suspect, his papers. You had an enormous volume of American civil rights history at your disposal in crafting the narrative here. Quite a challenge going through that. This is important. This needs to go. This, for length or for brevity, this may need to go out. I mean, what was the criteria you applied?
Well, I mean, I read a lot. And so many amazing writers had taken on this challenge from a third-person perspective. David Halberstam's The Children still, to this day, I mean, it rings true as one of those beautiful books about this period. But this is John Lewis's story. And that's, I think, really important to why this works as a graphic novel, because he was one of the most prominent leaders of the civil rights movement when he was 23. And when you're trying to speak to young people, you need to keep that part in mind, that sometimes we forget the power that we have at a young age, when we can be fearless, when we can be free. We don't, the young folks don't have a mortgage, they don't have kids. And so for this story to work, it had to be John Lewis's story. And so for all the literature that's out there, it's his words. He's a incredibly gifted oral storyteller, perhaps one of the best of his generation. And it's just finding his words and putting them together with the narrative timeline. And so, you read everything else for reference, and also so that you're paying proper respect to these giants who came before you. But really and truly, this is the Congressman's words.
We keep using the term comic, not comic novel, but novel, working that graphic novel. And there is just only a touch of the fictional in here, and that involves, in volume 1, that involves the visit of a young, I think she's a grandmother or a mom and her young children or whatever, to sort of set up the story. But everything in there is pretty factual. This has been fact-checked, vetted thoroughly.
Well, I think if there was anything that we'd missed, we would know by now. People would have taken glee in that. But this story is meant to be an entry point that is true because it's going to start a larger conversation. The point you mentioned about the mother and her 2 children, I was raised by a single mother, and so that point was very important to me. That it be a single mother who takes her kids to learn their history so that they themselves have that sort of foundation, that education that leads their lives in the future. And my mother did that for me. And I see that happen over and over in the Congressman's office, where young people come in and the Congressman stops whatever he's doing. He kicks like the policy wonks out and he talks to the kids because they're the most important part. And he gives them all the time in the world. And it's amazing to me. So I felt like that needed to be represented.
Well, and I talked with the Congressman earlier about this, but let me ask you 2 gents. Is there concern on your part? You're younger than the Congressman. I'm just a wee bit younger than the Congressman. Is there concern on your part that maybe there is an absence of appreciation, or a deficit, I should say, of appreciation among young folks for what he and his colleagues went through? Nate?
I think that it was eye-opening as soon as I started work on March to realize just how much I took for granted this gulf, this gap between my generation and 20-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds. I just kind of most of the time I keep my head down and I'm working in my house and being a dad all the time. And it really opened me up to the way history functions as a living thing, and made me realize there's a special consideration and a special responsibility when working with Congressman Lewis's narrative in terms of not taking for granted certain basic tenets of civil rights history that I grew up entrenched in. It was kind of a wake-up call in that regard, just how much can be lost within the span of one generation.
The Southern Poverty Law Center came out with a report talking about civil rights education in the United States. Only 3 states got an A. That means 47 states need to improve. 8 of those states have absolutely no statewide standards for civil rights education. We are forgetting our history because we're not teaching it. And what we need to do is to create books that then speak to that generation, that are easy for the teachers to teach, that resonate with the children, and that's what we've tried to do. I think you're already seeing it be adopted in 28 states so far. You have a school in that state using it. You've seen Michigan State, Marquette University, and there will be others that we know of that haven't been announced yet, who are using it as their freshman required reading. The schools want to begin this conversation. They know they're failing, and they needed the opportunity to begin it, and that's what we're doing with March.
Congressman, once this project got underway, did you just kind of give it your blessing, or did you keep a close eye on what these young guys were doing in your name?
Well, I gave it my blessing and support, and I read everything, and I'm amazed and thrilled to see how fast we've been going and moving. And when we get copy and pages of Nate's drawings, it makes me smile. To see the history come alive and see it real, and to see how it's changing, as Andrew indicated, teaching the way people are teaching civil rights history, but to see the response of children, young children, people 6 years old, reading it. It's coming up, said, I read your book. Will you sign it? That's very moving.
As an example, part of March, Book One, includes the congressman's, well, the giant rally at the Lincoln Memorial back in the 1960s. That one day, as depicted in the book, help me, that probably involves how many panels, maybe 15 or 20 panels in the book, pieces, separate pieces of artwork, frames, if that's the term. How long would it take you two to say, okay, now we've got it. Now we're telling too much in this frame or too little? The collaboration had to be intense.
In general, there are many stages of back and forth. Usually whenever I reach the end of that process and I'm just inking and watercoloring the artwork, I can redraw an entire panel or an entire page, but there's very little tweaking or last-minute correction by that point. So all along the way from the finished script that I initially receive, then it's sort of my responsibility to break down a sequence like that according to my own storytelling, pacing, keeping an eye out for what's not indicated explicitly in the script, what might be more of a subtext, or what might be, I do my own level of research in terms of environment and visuals that might be overlooked strictly from the captions and descriptions within the script. Then I do penciled versions of that entire sequence. I send it off to both writers, get notes if necessary, and then redraw. And usually we do enough back and forth all along the way that once I finish a page, it usually doesn't need correction at that point. So I do a page a day, usually 7 days a week without a break. But before I get to that point, I'm spending a good 6 months at least just working on these preliminary pencil levels and tweaking and adjusting as we go.
This is a little spoiler alert in book 2. During the Freedom Rides, there's a moment when John Lewis and some of his seatmates get off a bus in Alabama, and it's eerily quiet, and they're about to be savagely beaten. And in the script, it was written as a 3 or 4 panel moment. But that moment just before the beating starts, before the mob comes in and smashes the cameras of the journalists and bashes a Coca-Cola crate over John Lewis's head, that tension, that drama, Nate drew that out into almost 2 pages because it provides to the reader the same emotional tension that John Lewis and the writers were going through of not knowing what was about to hit them, of not knowing what was waiting for them in the shadows. And that's where Nate's talent really just made this special.
To me, the tension, the anxiety of really even extending the theme of waiting for change to come on a grand scale, but even as SNCC, as the Freedom Riders were going through their struggle, the moment-by-moment tension, the moment-by-moment waiting, I kind of saw that as the meat of a lot of the scenes. Not the action itself, but the tension before the action.
Well, the three of you have used the term script rather than manuscript, and maybe I'm extrapolating something from that, but it does occur that the finished work could well be the storyboard for a Hollywood production. Was that sort of the approach by default or by design?
Well, there's been a kind of an industry shift with the growing broad recognition of comics and graphic novels as a literary form and their relative success on the silver screen. And speaking very generally, a lot of producers and Hollywood companies are able to absorb comics a lot more easily because it does function as a default storyboard. You sort of skip an entire point of visualizing what might be a good production on the big screen. So it wasn't conscious, but that's sort of a growing reality of working within the comics narrative.
Congressman, I gather overall you're more than satisfied with this.
I'm very satisfied, more than satisfied, very pleased to see the reaction. The book is doing very, very well. It's been on the New York Times bestseller. People all over America reading it, in high places. Matter of fact, every member of Congress received a digital copy of this book.
You're cutting into your royalties that way if you just give it away.
Well, you know, I was trying to help educate people, trying to help save some souls.
Tell us about, give us a peek at, we're taping our program now, by the way, in late April. It's January, I believe. Volumes 2 and 3 are anticipated. Give us, what are we going to see, Congressman, in volume? Let's just take 2.
Well, in 2, it's going to be much more drama. It's going to be very dramatic. It's going to be everything. It's going to be real. Book 1 tend to set the stage. This is my early childhood. But book 2, I'm grown up. I'm on the scene. Not just getting arrested and going to jail, speaking at the March on Washington. But as Andrew and Nate indicate, the Freedom Rise in 1961, it was drama. It was dangerous. For a group of young blacks and whites that said we're going to board a Greyhound bus or a Trailway bus and going to travel across the South. People told us, you can do it, it's dangerous. It's like committing suicide. But we had to do it.
There is more darkness to come in volumes 2 and 3. There's more blood, more pain, more suffering, a lot more to come in 2 and 3. Does that bring its own special difficulties from an artistic standpoint, from a narrative standpoint?
It's sort of a balance between finding accurate, responsible representation of historical figures and events and making sure you're doing your homework, and also making sure you're digging out enough room for a powerful and very subjective account of these events coming from Congressman Lewis's perspective. And so there were a couple of pages, even within book 1, the most powerful for me as an artist being depicting the events surrounding the murder of Emmett Till. And a couple of sequences even required that I was finished for the day after drawing one panel. So that level of intensity is certainly magnified in book 2. It is a challenge in that we know that the tone is shifting because the course of history was shifting. You're reflecting a response to a shifting society in history. And so this is also interesting because book 1 is certainly more appropriate in general for people, you know, ranging from 90 years old all the way down to 10 years old. But there, with that escalated intensity and darkness in books 2 and 3, it will be interesting to see exactly how younger readers grow into the rest of the trilogy, grow with it, and are able to handle a little bit more of the intensity of history and its legacy.
Right. Just in terms of the language, Andrew, that's a lot of history to boil down, even with the accompaniment of superb artistry.
Well, as the Congressman
Visual
says, and as Martin Luther King said, and his father before him, you got to make it plain. And that's what we're trying to do. I think my own writing style has been so heavily influenced by working with the Congressman all these years that it's somewhat second nature to understand his voice and how he's been able to convey these stories for so many years to people in a plain yet powerful way. I think the greatest challenge is to convey the optimism that you feel when you're in his presence. This is a flat page, and yet Nate brings so much depth to it with the art. The challenge with the words is to then reflect the optimism that John Lewis himself has possessed and guided him for so many years.
Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Good luck with volumes 2 and 3. And if it's at all possible, come back to Little Rock and we'll do another program. It's a promise. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
This program is made possible in part by the Moving Image Trust Fund.